We're here to start the cross-country hydrogen road tour, sponsored by the United States Department of Energy and United States Department of Transportation, but locally sponsored by the Hydrogen Energy Center, a group that I founded almost 15 years ago. The goal here is to have an energy economy that's pollution-free, job-creating, sustainable, renewable, secure, and domestic. And we can do all of those things with renewable hydrogen.
Where is the gas tank, right? Where is that?
Hydrogen fuel cell car is an electric car, but the electricity for the electric drive is being supplied by a device called a fuel cell. A fuel cell produces electricity from hydrogen without burning it. There is no combustion, and the only emissions are water vapor.
It takes in air, goes through an air filter. Underneath here is an air pump. So when the car is running, you'd hear kind of an kind of a sound, and that's the air pump pushing air into the fuel cell stack. Everything else you see is kind of standard automotive.
A hydrogen vehicle using electrolysis hydrogen has a zero carbon footprint. If you're looking at hydrogen that's made from natural gas, there is a carbon footprint, but it is substantially less than the gasoline footprint, especially in terms of tailpipe emissions.
I really like it.
You have to understand that these cars emit zero, but I mean, from the fuel production side, I think it's important that we have to realize that there are some emissions associated with them, but they're relatively low compared to gas.
People want an alternative to $4 or $6 or $8 gasoline, which is possible over the next 3 or 4 years. They want an alternative to dependence upon fuel that comes from other parts of the world in increasing scarcity, and where the demand for that fuel is increasing rapidly by other countries. And they want an alternative that doesn't put carbon into the atmosphere and add to global warming. And hydrogen offers a solution to all of those.
So it's a very versatile application when you look at fuel cells in terms of being able to provide electricity for our needs.
Even though this is an automotive event, the prospects for hydrogen fuel cell use as a replacement for home heating oil and natural gas as a heating fuel are also there. And there is very interesting equipment in combined heat and power to bring technology that's very similar to the technology in these cars to our homes as well.
There's a lot of misinformation about hydrogen. People don't know how it works. They don't know what its likely and potential future is.
Hydrogen is as safe as gasoline. It has its dangers as gasoline has dangers.
Most insurance people who have investigated hydrogen versus other fuels will say that hydrogen is safer than gasoline. Hydrogen is safer because when there is any kind of an accident or rupture, it escapes immediately. It does not puddle and create a flammable situation. It's gone.
Because hydrogen is the new kid on the block and you have to be careful in slightly different ways, it feels like it's more dangerous. But in fact, it has an excellent safety record. We have been using hydrogen in the space program and in industry in the United States since the 1950s.
My getting one would really depend on the availability of the fuel, but it's definitely something I would consider.
The challenges that face hydrogen vehicles at this point in time is fueling. We have a bit of a chicken and egg situation where we won't get fueling stations built until we have vehicles on the road, and we won't get vehicles on the road until there's a place for them to fuel. As fleet vehicles start being fueled for geographic limited areas, then the technology will become more popular, the number of stations will expand, and we'll have more fueling stations available for hydrogen fueling.
In the space of only a few years, suddenly these cars have sprung out of nowhere, which I think is a demonstration of how ready the world is for technology that will reduce emissions and use less damaging fuels.
I mean, we obviously need an alternative to our current fuel situation, so it makes a lot of sense.
I think I would probably want to see the technology taken a little bit further than it is right now. I want to see extended range.
And what is the range of this car?
280 miles.
Which is pretty good for a community vehicle.
Correct. That's an EPA certified number, so we've got
several pluses and minuses to fuel cell vehicles right now. The single biggest one, frankly, is infrastructure, but from the vehicle perspective, durability. We want to bring that durability up to where it's capable of 100 to 150,000 miles, which is what consumers are currently expecting. We want to bring a vehicle to market that gives them as good or better than what they currently have. Throughout the world, there are over 200 fuel cell vehicles running on the road right now.
Can you talk more about the engine?
Sure.
I mean, some of these things, like, is that the air filter?
The amount of time it's going to take us to get fuel cell cars in general use is a question that has many different answers depending on who you ask. There are many, many naysayers who say that hydrogen is too complicated, too risky, too whatever, and we won't see hydrogen fuel cell cars until 2030. But I think it will be less than 5 years before a noticeable number of Americans are driving fuel cell cars.